Colleagues, we now come to business questions. Deputy Shadow Leader of the House, John Lamont.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To ask the Leader of the House for the forthcoming business.
Mr Speaker, on Monday the 12th of January we will have Committee of the Whole House of Finance number 2 Bill, Day 1. Tuesday the 13th of January, Committee of the Whole House on the Finance Bill number 2, Day 2. Wednesday the 14th of January, remaining stages of the Public Office Accountability Bill. Thursday the 15th of January, general debate on new towns, followed by a general debate on financial support for small businesses and individuals during the COVID-19 pandemic. The subjects for these debates were determined by the Backbench Business Committee. Friday the 16th of January, the House will not be sitting. The provisional business for the week commencing the 19th of January include Monday the 19th of January, consideration of Lord's amendments to the Diego Garcia Military Base and British Indian Ocean Territory Bill, followed by consideration of Lord's amendments to the Sentencing Bill, followed by consideration of Lord's amendments to the Holocaust Memorial Bill. On Tuesday the 20th of January, Committee of the Whole House and remaining stages of the National Insurance Contributions Employer Pensions Contributions Bill, followed by a motion to approve the draft Northern Ireland Troubles, Legacy and Reconciliation Act 2023 Remedial Order 2025.
John Lamont.
Mr Speaker, may I begin by wishing you, Mr Speaker, the Leader, Honourable and Right Honourable Members and all staff of this House a very happy New Year. And I appreciate that the Leader may still be recovering from the excesses of the festive season, so I will not try to add unduly to his discomfort. But I want to start with a simple request. Will he give a clear commitment that this government will stop making significant policy announcements when Parliament is not sitting? Mr Speaker, I know you take this issue very seriously, but we had another significant announcement made not to Parliament but to the media. Whilst we on this side welcome the partial U-turn of the vindictive and cruel family farm tax, it was utterly wrong for the government to sneak out such a major policy shift just a few days before Christmas, when this House was not in session and members could not properly scrutinise ministers about their change of course. We then saw Labour members rush to social media to claim that they had always thought it was the wrong policy and had been working hard behind the scenes to persuade ministers to change it. I have to say to the House, that will simply not wash with farmers. Farmers are not daft. They will remember the Honourable and Right Honourable members opposite trooping through the division lobbies to vote down Conservative attempts to stop this dreadful family farm tax. They will remember the Labour MPs clapping like seals from the back benches every time the Prime Minister insisted that this tax was the right thing to do. There was, Mr Speaker, however, one exception, the Honourable Member for Penrith and Solway. He did the right thing. He knows the difference between right and wrong. He stood up for farmers and businesses in his constituency. He voted against this disastrous policy because he knew Labour had promised before the election not to introduce such a tax, and he knew that pledge had been broken. Now that events have proved the Honourable Member for Penrith and Solway correct, can I ask the Leader of the House, when will the whip be restored to him? If the government now accepts that the policy was wrong, will it also accept that punishing those who opposed it was wrong too? Mr Speaker, the turn of the year is traditionally a time for reflection and resolution. Before Christmas, the Leader informed us that he does not make New Year's resolutions. Can I ask him, please, to think again? 2025 was, in truth, a year defined by U-turns. So I ask the Leader, what is he going to do to ensure that this government is better led, more stable and more honest with the public in the year ahead? In 2025, we had U-turns on inheritance tax on farmers and small businesses, a statutory inquiry into grooming gangs, winter fuel payments, the two-child benefit cap, income tax, welfare reform, national insurance, compensation for waspy women, the Prime Minister warmly welcoming Al Fatah back to Britain only to claim he regrets it, the Deputy Prime Minister forced to resign over her tax affairs, the US Ambassador Peter Mandelson sacked for his links to a notorious paedophile, the Homelessness Minister quit after making her tenants homeless. Mr Speaker, on issue after issue, the Government has lurched from announcement to reversal, creating uncertainty for families, for businesses and for some of the most vulnerable people in our society. So can I ask the Leader, with all this chaos and uncertainty at the very top of government, does he believe that the Prime Minister will still be in a job this time next year? If the Prime Minister's beloved Arsenal stay top of the table and win the league this year, will he be enjoying it as Prime Minister or as a punter? Mr Speaker, there has been speculation that His Royal Highness the King will open the new session of Parliament on the 12th of May. Can the Leader confirm this and when Parliament will prorogue? Finally, Mr Speaker, the pub and hospitality sector are facing a bleak, dry January. But it's particularly bad this winter because of the policy decisions taken by this Labour government to hike up their taxes. Hundreds of pubs, restaurants and hotels across the country have now banned Labour MPs from their premises. One publican said that everyone is fed up because the Labour government hasn't listened and has instead taxed us more. Why does the Labour government, Mr Speaker, not understand the importance that local pubs and hotels play in our economy? The country is ready to call time on the Prime Minister. It is last orders for his Labour government. After just 18 months in power, the Prime Minister's leadership is stale. He's like a flat pint. Even the regulars have had enough. So will the Leader commit to make representations to the Chancellor to lessen the tax burden on this industry? And will he tell us if he's been banned from his local pub yet?
Leader of the House.
Indeed, Mr Speaker, and can I start with wishing you, Mr Speaker, and everyone across the House a Happy New Year. And I'd like to congratulate parliamentarians, past and present, recognised in this New Year's honours. It's right and proper that people who make an exemplary contribution to public service are recognised, like so many others across our country. I also want to say, Mr Speaker, that I was saddened to hear about the passing of Sir Patrick Duffy at the age of 105. He was a committed Member of Parliament for Colne Valley between 1963 and 1966, and then for Sheffield Attercliffe between 1970 and 1992, and he served as Minister for the Navy. He is the longest-lived MP in British history, and I send my condolences to his friends and family. I must say, Mr Speaker, that it's a shame that the Shadow Leader is not here today. I understand that he's been described in Tatler as, and I quote, the last upper-class Tory MP and the truest Renaissance man in Parliament. And he does always bring some class to our proceedings, but I'm delighted to be responding to his more than capable deputy today. Mr Speaker, this week the Government has published the Road Safety Strategy. The strategy makes our roads safer and cut road deaths by 65% by 2023. We will save thousands of lives on our nation's roads and are taking decisive action to make our roads safer for everyone. We'll tackle drink driving, improving training for young drivers and introducing mandatory eye tests for older motorists. This is another example, Mr Speaker, of the Government responding to the concerns raised by members across the House, including at business questions. And the Transport Minister will say more in her statement later today. But that's not all, Mr Speaker. In the coming months, thousands more free breakfast clubs will open, 3,000 more neighbourhood police officers will be on our streets by March. Almost 120 community diagnostic centres will be open 7 days a week across the country by April, as we bring down waiting lists and renew our NHS. And there will be new rights for renters and workers coming into effect in the spring. Which is why, Mr Speaker, after 14 years of decline and drift under the previous government, our aim is that 2026 is the year of renewal, when it becomes real, visible and felt. In terms of what the honourable gentleman has asked, Mr Speaker, and in terms of announcements, he knows my view because he's quoted it back to me, that announcements wherever possible should be made in this House first. But the reality was we were very aware of the concern amongst the farming community. We have listened to the farming community, and at the earliest opportunity, Mr Speaker, we wanted to inform the farming community of what our plans are going forward. And I have to say, contrary to what he has the impression that he's given today that the announcement has been warmly welcomed by farmers. We will have an opportunity to debate this matter more fully, because I've just announced that we'll be debating the finance bill shortly. In terms of whipping, I'm delighted to say that whipping is a matter for the Chief Whip, no longer for me. In terms of being better led and more stable, it's not in our gift alone to decide that, because that was decided by the country, Mr. Speaker, at the last general election, when they were very clear that they voted for a stable, well-led government, and that is what we are delivering. And in terms of when the King's speech will be, we have said that it will be spring 2024. That will obviously depend somewhat on 26 rather, dependent on progress of business. And finally, he raises the issue of hospitality. The Prime Minister has been absolutely clear on this too, that we are listening, and that he's actively we are actively looking at further measures to help pubs, whether or not in the hospitality industry, whether these are in rural areas or in urban areas. But I have to say, Mr. Speaker, we're not going to take any lessons from the party opposite, because during 14 years there are a record number of pub closures. They did nothing to help the situation, which is why we've got a job to do, and we're getting on with it.
Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and Happy New Year to you. Delays in the court system mean that one of my constituents has been in prison awaiting trial on remand for over a year. She is in Newhall Prison, 200 miles away from her mother, who is disabled and cannot make that journey. She has requested a transfer to Bronzefield Prison so her mother can visit. Today, Heba Moresi is close to death because she has been on a hunger strike protest for 67 days. I plead with the Leader of the House to let common sense and humanity prevail, to urgently intervene, to agree the transfer, and also to consider allowing her release on bail to her family home in my constituency.
Order. You've got to be very careful in your word. No, one of us is going to sit down, Barry. Just to say, please, the advice was just to keep away, get into the detail of where the jury are, and I can't afford that. Have you finished?
I respect your ruling, Mr. Speaker. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Leader of the House.
Speaker, if my honourable friend gives me the details of the case, and I'm talking about where the person concerned is currently, then I will obviously raise that with the Justice Secretary. But on the wider point, we are continually assessing prisoners' well-being, and will always take appropriate action, including taking prisoners to hospital if their situation requires that. But if he raises that issue with me, I will not only draw it to the attention of the Justice Secretary, but to make sure that he gets the assurances that he and the family need.
Bobby Dean, Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and Happy New Year to you and everybody in the House. And if I could just respond briefly to something the Conservative Shadow Leader said, I sincerely hope Arsenal don't win the league. Over Christmas, some people have had the unfortunate experience of finding themselves in their local hospital, and they would have been met by a packed emergency department and possibly treated in the corridor. New statistics from the Royal College of Emergency Medicine this week said that over 1.5 million people had to wait longer than 12 hours in emergency departments last year, and over 16,000 excess deaths have been as a result of those long waits. And at my local hospital in St Helier, the situation is worse than the national average, and over 80%, that's the vast majority, are remaining in the emergency department for longer than is deemed medically necessary. Now, this is, of course, down to a multitude of reasons, one of which being the inadequacy of social care, one to do with bed capacity in hospitals, which we know in the UK is worse than other comparable economies, and also the condition of the estate. And with the new hospitals programme having many delays in it, that means my local hospital is having to close wards and do repairs and maintenance programmes, further exacerbating the problem. Now, Mr. Speaker, when corridor care first came up in my inbox, I was shocked by it. I understood how tragic the situation was and how undignified it was for patients and families, but I had hoped there would be a temporary urgent measure that would resolve itself in time, but that is not proving to be the case. So I wonder if the Leader of the House can ask the Secretary of State to make a statement on the matter of corridor care and how we can hasten its end immediately.
Leader.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr Speaker. And first of all, can I pay tribute to staff who are currently working across our NHS, but also worked throughout the holiday period, against what is still a challenging situation, despite the progress that this government is making, because we are committed to investing not just for today but for the future in the NHS to improve waiting times and to improve access to care, and spending will increase by £29 billion in real terms by 2028-29. We are committed to cutting waiting lists, and they've fallen for the first time in years, £450 million into urgent and emergency care plan. But we do, and the Secretary of State understands the scale of the challenge that we inherited and still the scale of the challenge going forward. But I will draw to his attention the Honourable Gentleman's comments, because the Secretary of State is not short in coming forward to this House and updating about the challenges but also the progress that we're making in the NHS.
Jim McMahon.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and a Happy New Year to you and to the House. High street banks have left many towns high and dry, leaving whole communities and businesses without even basic banking facilities. The rollout of banking hubs is welcomed, but our ambition should be that every town has a bank, including Chadderton and Royton, where postmasters at the post office are ready and willing to take on that challenge. So can we have a debate in government time on banking hubs to explore this further?
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I do appreciate the issue of high street banks. It's been raised with me on a number of occasions, and of course the government is making progress in the rollout of 350 banking hubs, but we've been absolutely clear that that is not the end of our ambition. And that we intend that this will go further. This is the sort of issue that I know resonates across the House, and should my honourable friend seek an adjournment debate on this matter, then he may get from the Minister what our further plans are going forward.
Bob Blackman, Chair of the Backbench Committee.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and a Happy New Year. And this time of year, of course, very sadly, often we have to report on deaths, and the fact that Martin Chivers, Terry Yorath, and indeed Kevin Keegan, who's facing a fight against stomach cancer. I'm sure the whole House will wish their families the long life, and indeed Kevin Keegan a swift recovery. In addition to the business that the Leader has announced, there will be a statement next Thursday from the Justice Committee on the drugs in prison and what action needs to be taken. I note that the Leader didn't announce whether we will be getting the 22nd of January as a day, so we haven't allocated any business for that day as yet. But if we're given Thursday the 29th of January, there'll be the full day's debate on Holocaust Memorial Day. In Westminster Hall next week on Tuesday, there'll be a debate on the statutory duty of care for universities. On Thursday, a debate on the impact of food inflation on cost of living, followed by a debate on the impact of gambling harms on children and young people. On Tuesday the 20th of January, in Westminster Hall, there'll be a debate on the role of NHS in preventing homicides and domestic violence. And on Thursday, the 22nd, a debate on transport connectivity in Midlands and North Wales, followed by a debate on the International Day of Education. Now, Mr Speaker, the whole House will be well aware of the outrageous crimes of David Carrick and Cliff Mitchell. This morning, a report has been published about the Metropolitan Police, the way they've recruited police officers and staff. During the period of 2018 to 2023, because of the need to recruit more police officers, the normal vetting procedures were completely ignored. 5,073 individuals were recruited without vetting. 4,528 had no special branch approval. 431 had no Ministry of Defence approval. And even more scandalously than that, 114 who were actually vetted and refused were granted on appeal to actually join the Metropolitan Police. The estimate is that 1,200 officers and staff who would have been refused were recruited to the Metropolitan Police. Now, the vast majority, the overwhelming majority of police officers do a brilliant job on our behalf and keep us safe. However, This is a clear scandal where vetting was not carried out and creates a crisis of confidence in the police and indeed casts doubt on the police themselves, who want to see the bad apples removed and indeed prevented from coming into the police force in the first place. However, there is concern now that this may have happened in other police forces across the country. So could we have a statement from the Home Secretary? I know she's condemned the position, but will she come and give a statement to the House on what action is going to be taken to prevent this happening?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I first of all join him in sending our condolences to the friends and family of Martin Chivers, and also our best wishes to Kevin Keegan for what we hope is a swift recovery. Let me thank him for his work and the work of the Backbench Business Committee and for updating the House on what that looks like going forward. He's right, I didn't announce the business for the 22nd of January. I've listened to what he said, and I will do everything that I can to make sure that we find time for what I was disappointed from Monday that a debate has been postponed, and therefore we'll see if we can accommodate that. In terms of the very serious matter which is raised around the Met Police recruitment, the Home Secretary has launched an investigation into the Met's recruitment and vetting processes, which will be led by the police watchdog, His Majesty's Chief Inspector of Constabulary. Abandoning vetting checks on police officers was a dereliction of the Met's duty to keep London safe, and the public rightly expect officers to undergo robust checks so that the brightest and best, not the criminals, are the ones who are policing our streets. In terms of updating the House and what action needs to be taken, and also whether or not this is an issue which is beyond the Metropolitan Police, there is an investigation, and I'm sure when the Home Secretary has the findings of that investigation, she will of course want to update the House.
Just on a point on Monday, it was the amount of UQs I think that was aimed at. And that was because government decided to do statements outside the normal time. That's why business was lost. But I'm sure that when the opposition put in those UQs, they thought that was important. So I'm only carrying out my job is to ensure that backbenchers have their voices heard. Let's try one now by Dawn Butler.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and a Happy New Year to you and all of the staff. The Leader of the House, I also have a constituent, like my neighbour from Brent West, which I will talk to you about. But just in regards to what was just mentioned by the Chair of the Backbench Committee, the report today from the Met Police is very worrying. And in addition to that, the Met has informed me last year that only half of the police are on the Met's DNA database, where it should be 100%. So in addition to the investigation, can we please include this as well, and maybe as well as a statement, have a debate in government time for the House?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'll make sure that the Home Secretary has heard my honourable friend's remarks around the extent of the investigation, and see if her concerns can be addressed in that. And as I've already said in a previous answer, once that investigation is concluded, I'm sure that the Home Secretary will want to find time to come back to the House and update the House and, if necessary, have a debate about it.
Rosindell.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and a very happy New Year to you and all of your staff in the Speaker's office. I would like the Leader of the House to know that I am very concerned to hear that several police and community support officers currently under Transport Policing Command within the Metropolitan Police are being forcibly redeployed to a private contractor within Transport for London. Now, this has caused a tremendous amount of upset for those concerned, including one of my constituents, whose only other option is to resign. So, will the Leader of the House please consider a broader debate on the structure of the Metropolitan Police and its relationship with outside private organisations?
Leader. Thank you, Mr Speaker. Should those issues arise from the investigation that we've just been talking about, then I'm sure there'll be an opportunity for the honourable gentleman to raise those concerns. But in terms of how resources are deployed, it is a matter, of course, for the Mayor of London on these matters. But I'm sure that he is doing everything that he can to ensure that officers are deployed where they are most needed. It is an unsettling time for people when we get into that situation, but it is fundamentally a matter for the Mayor of London.
Andy MacNae.
Thank you, Speaker. Very, very happy New Year to you. And in this new year, I'm very much looking forward to seeing just how the policies this government has delivered in its first 18 months have a real impact on the day-to-day lives of people in Rosindell and Darwen. But despite much-needed investment, including Pride and Place programmes, Rosindell remains the only borough in the north with no commuter rail link. Now, the fragmented nature of Lancashire politics has held this back for years, but now the local government reorganisation this government is delivering finally gives us the chance to give this project a fresh start. So will the Leader agree to a debate in government time as to how devolution can enable projects like the Rosindell rail link that delivers vital transport for local areas?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The English Devolution and Community Empowerment Bill will deliver on the government's commitment to widen and deepen devolution across England and give communities stronger tools to shape their local areas. We are committed to delivering and improving infrastructure that communities need, as outlined in our 10-year infrastructure strategy, and I'd encourage my honourable friend to raise this matter at MHCLG orals shortly.
Why not, Mark Francois?
Happy New Year, Mr Speaker. Can we have an urgent debate on the need to proceed with the local elections in May? In July 1945, we held a general election, even though we were still involved in fighting the Second World War in the Far East. So if we could have a general election in wartime, why can't we have local elections in peacetime, including in Labour-led Basildon, Labour-led Southend and Labour-led Thurrock, 4 months from today? What are Labour frightened of, other, of course, than losing?
Yes, well, as my honourable friends are saying, Mr Speaker, certainly not the party opposite. But we have made absolutely clear our reasons for this, because more time is needed in some areas to reorganise local government in these areas, and many of these requests don't come from government, they actually come from local areas themselves.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and a Happy New Year to you and your staff. Like many members across this House, I receive regular alerts from the Environment Agency warning of potential flooding in my constituency. And every time that phone rings, I get the feeling of dread that this will be the time when my town floods. Every time the alert is downgraded, I and my constituents breathe a sigh of relief, as happened most recently on Monday this week. A major flooding event is expected every 20 years in Lowestoft, which is the only UK coastal town with no formal tidal flood defences, and I know the devastation that it would bring, like the last time in 2013 when 152 homes and businesses were flooded. Will the Leader of the House therefore find government time for a debate on coastal flooding?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. We are committed to supporting coastal communities and ensuring coastal risk management is fit for the challenges that we now face, but also going forward. We are making a record £10.5 billion investment and delivering the largest flood and coastal investment programme in history. But I would encourage my honourable friend to apply for a debate on this matter. There are a number of MPs who will be concerned too, but also if she wishes to meet with the Flood Minister to discuss this, I'll help her to arrange that.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. This past week, we've all been speaking about the need to respect the rule of international law, yet transnational repression, where authoritarian regimes extend their jurisdiction beyond their borders and their powers, is worryingly present in UK soil. My constituent, Shahzad Akbar, who is a former human rights lawyer, former cabinet minister and political dissident from Pakistan, has faced repeated and violent attacks against him in efforts to intimidate him. He suffered an acid attack in his home in front of his 4-year-old daughter. Then just on Christmas Eve, he had a physical assault against him, resulting in a broken nose and jaw, again in front of his young family. Then just before New Year's Eve, a terrifying arson attack on his home. I've made the Foreign Secretary and Home Secretary aware of these, but will the Leader of the House agree with me that this cannot be allowed on British soil, that further measures are needed to protect political dissidents here in our country, and that a debate on transnational repression and the government's measures to combat it is in the interests of democracy and this House? Thank you.
Leader. Thank you, Mr Speaker. If the Honourable Lady gives me further details of this case, I'll make sure that it's raised with the appropriate department to see what else can be done to assist in this matter. But of course, the government believes that political matters or faith matters, even though we may disagree, should never be a situation where people are threatened or indeed attacked in that. And the FCDO raises these concerns regularly where necessary with countries, governments across the world. But if she lets me have the details, I'll make sure that she gets a response.
I'm a foodie.
Thank
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. During Parliament, I had the absolute privilege of going along to Seton Delaval First School and meeting the Year 3 and 4 classes there to receive a grilling, it has to be said, with some excellent questions. But since the pupils have got in touch to arrange a range of issues, including the environment, vape in schools, NHS, social media and the impact on young people, does the Leader of the House, especially as a especially as a former teacher himself, how important it is that we ensure that young people have a stake in our politics and feel that their voices are heard when we are discussing these important issues?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. First of all, can I pay tribute to the hard work of the staff and the pupils at Seton Delaval First School. And I thank my honourable friend for her question. It is important that young people are at the heart of decisions that are made that affect their lives, which is why we recently published the National Youth Strategy and are committed to extending the right to vote to 16 and 17-year-olds, but also making sure that they're equipped with the knowledge about how voting works, but also what their role is in that. You may wish to attend MHCLG questions on the 12th of January to learn more about our work to ensure that young people are equipped and empowered to participate in democracy.
When we lost our police station in Aldridge, we were told the choice was between bobbies or bricks. Now, under Labour's Police and Crime Commissioner, a £41 million funding gap means there will be 80 fewer officers on our streets next year. So can the Leader of the House explain how cutting police numbers in my constituency delivers Labour's promise to get more police into our communities?
Mr Speaker, we are committed to increasing the number of police officers. It was a disgrace, the situation that we were left at the time of the next election, and we are committed to a neighbourhood policing guarantee, putting 13,000 more officers into neighbourhood policing roles, which is a 50% increase from where they are. In terms of a choice between police stations or officers and bobbies on the beat, it is up to police and crime commissioners, again, to make a choice as to where the resources can best be deployed.
Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, we had, as you know, a good discussion in questions about bus services, something that's a passionate issue for many members across this House, because bus services are such an easy way for people to get around and make transport accessible financially and otherwise for people. In London, we've seen bus ridership drop by 23%, and there are a number of issues, particularly my concern is about the 38 bus route, which is due to be, or being consulted on curtailment, so that it only goes as far as Holborn in the Prime Minister's constituency. Might be good for him, but we all want to go as far as Victoria and Theatreland. So a number of us MPs are concerned about this across the House. Is it not time to have a debate in government time about the great stuff that the government is doing on buses, so that transport ministers can learn from us across the country and make sure that we are expressing what is the best practice and learning from each other? Could the government provide time for this?
Mr Speaker, my right honourable friend is a great champion for her constituency and particularly for that part of London which she represents, and she's absolutely right to raise concerns on behalf of constituents about the number 38 bus route. This will be of concern to a number of colleagues, and I would invite her to look towards an adjournment debate to get reassurance, or certainly to inform ministers of concerns and see what can be done to help the situation.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Whilst Reform UK welcomed the Foreign Secretary's update to the House on Monday regarding Al Fatah, will the government give consideration to allocating time for my presentation bill introduced yesterday, which addresses the national security risk of individuals convicted abroad of national security offences? If not, will the Home Secretary at least make a statement to the House on her assessment of the threat posed by this individual and whether or not the government intends to pursue deprivation of his British citizenship and deport him?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I am aware that the Honourable Lady has raised this matter. We will study very carefully what her bill says, but the Home Secretary has been very clear about how strong the government's stance is on these matters, and I will raise it after this session with the Home Secretary and ensure that the Honourable Lady gets an answer.
Mr Speaker, constituents in the Upper Rumley Valley face unacceptably high petrol prices. And when I wrote to the Competition and Markets Authority, they referred to a forthcoming fuel finder scheme. However, there's no confirmed launch date. So I do get that this is complicated, but will the Leader of the House please encourage ministers to provide a statement on when the scheme will be delivered to improve consumer information across the UK?
Thank you, Mr. Leader. I'm grateful that my honourable friend has raised this matter because, of course, the government made clear before the Christmas recess of our intention to introduce a fuel finder scheme. It happens in other countries. It can happen in this country, Mr. Speaker. I'm not sure of the date of introduction, but I will arrange with the Minister for my honourable friend to have a meeting so he can express his concerns and perhaps find out from ministers what actually the timescale is going forward.
Andrew Stone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. 12, I believe it is, out of the 15 constituencies in Lancashire benefited from the Pride in Places scheme. Many people may not be surprised to know that Fylde, as the only Conservative constituency in Lancashire, was not on that list. But we will not let it deter us because we do have pride in our place and ambitions for it, whether it be the Pier Link or the island site in St Anne's, the public realm improvements we want to make in Lytham and Poulton, or reopening the derelict Kirk and Bath. Could we have a statement from the government on how those areas that have been left behind by not being in the Pride in Places scheme can attract investment to continue to improve their towns and villages?
Mr. Speaker, any improvement in local areas is not dependent upon the Pride in Places scheme, but it will be significantly helped by the Pride in Place scheme. I'm not entirely surprised that there are not that many Conservative constituencies or authorities that are not in there, because there aren't many of them left after the general election. But there are a number of things. If the honourable gentleman is doing exactly the right thing, Mr. Speaker. He is raising concerns on behalf of his constituents about how best they can improve their areas. And my advice to him, if he wants to hear it from ministers as to what our ambitions are for every local area, and we are ambitious for every local area, is seek an adjournment debate, make the points and see what the minister's got to say.
Dr. Jeevan Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituency, like many across this House, have been horrified by the wreckage that we've seen in Gaza. Whilst there has been a ceasefire, of course, there is still violence, and now aid is struggling to get in. I'd like to thank my constituents who have raised this issue with me. I'd like to thank the House for also raising this issue as well. But can the leader assure me that this government will do everything we can to ensure that we help rebuild Gaza and ensure that aid goes in?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for continuing to raise this crucial matter. It is essential that all parties build on the foundations of the peace plan towards a sustainable path for long-term peace. We will play a leading role in accelerating Gaza's reconstruction, and this financial year we are providing £116 million for humanitarian and other aid, including healthcare, food, clean water and sanitation. But the government continues to keep this very at the forefront of our mind for the area, and ensure that the future for the people of that area is better than has been in the past.
Martin Vickers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The village of East Halton in my constituency is partly cut off at the moment because of a sinking road. Natural England are refusing permission to the local authority to move in and carry out the work because of badgers in the area. This is causing complete chaos, and tractors and HGVs having to use country lanes. It highlights yet again the powers of Natural England and other agencies to overrule the democratically elected authorities who want to carry out work on behalf of their local residents. Could the leader arrange for a debate to consider the powers these authorities have and how we can return some of them to elected authorities?
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, of course, one of the things that the government is doing is looking across planning, for example, to ensure that there is a balance between the natural world, which people are very, very concerned about, but also that where there is development, or in this case, improvement or repair, that there is perhaps more of a balance than there has been in the past. But I will draw this to the attention of the appropriate Minister so that they can set out for the honourable gentleman what our plans are to make sure that there is proportionate influence for organisations like Natural England.
Sir Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Happy New Year. Access to a local GP is vital for every community, and in Shenstone and Stonell, residents are rightly concerned after a consultation proposing to reduce services at Westgate Surgery from 5 days to 3. This has raised concerns for the long-term future of the practice and risks forcing patients to travel 4 miles to Lichfield to access the service they need. Can I ask for time in this House to debate rural healthcare services and GP access?
Leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the honourable friend for her question. We absolutely recognise the challenges faced by rural areas, which is why we're increasing capacity in general practices by recruiting more GPs, ensuring the necessary workforce is in place. You may wish to raise this directly with ministers, however, at health questions on the 13th of January.
Jones.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Cancer patients are suffering due to variations in cancer care across the country. In particular, clinical nurse specialists, a key part of cancer care, are stretched and very thinly and are unable to meet patients' needs in many regions. A breast cancer care now survey found that a quarter of respondents had not seen a clinical nurse specialist since their diagnosis. Can we have a debate in government time on how best to tackle variation in cancer care, and particularly the problems in accessing clinical nurse specialists?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. He raises a really important matter here, and the NHS plan and the investment that we're putting in is to ensure that we don't just address the issue of where people are, but that there are more people in the system to respond to the concerns that he has. But let me very gently say to him, and it also applies to his honourable friend, the Liberal Democrat Leader of the House, we all support the end in that we want to see more specialists in cancer care and everywhere else. But you've also got to support the means, and therefore that means voting when it comes to budgets to ensure that the money is there that we are putting in. Liberals can't have it both ways.
John Slinger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Backbenchers in this House strengthen the hand of ministers in tackling injustice, as was shown when the Housing Minister called in the Managing Director of Firstport in real time during a debate. And honourable members on this side are holding an informal inquiry into such issues. It's really important because a constituent of mine has seen his service charge nearly quadruple in 2 years in the case of Firstport. So can the leader set out whether there could be a debate in government time so that honourable members on the backbenches can shine a light, a cleansing light, on the malpractices of companies like this and others?
Leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My honourable friend is absolutely right to raise these concerns on behalf of his constituents, and they will be echoed by a number of colleagues indeed across the House. The government is absolutely committed to ensuring that those living in the leasehold sector are protected from abuse and poor service at the hands of unscrupulous managing agents, and we will strengthen regulation of managing agents to drive up the standards of their service. We will be publishing the draft leasehold and common hold reform bill as soon as possible, and of course alongside that the opportunity for future debate.
Robbie Moore.
Mr. Speaker, Haworth Village Hall is a vital community asset in the centre of the Worth Valley in my constituency, but is in desperate need of repair and upgrade and maintenance, which is why, under the last Conservative government, over £1 million was allocated to this project back in 2021. But since then, this money has sat with Labour-run Bradford Council and remains still to be unspent. So, whilst the asset deteriorates, so can we have a debate in government time which makes sure that money that is allocated is spent in reasonable time so that assets don't continue to deteriorate?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If the honourable gentleman gives me details of the case, I'll make sure that it's taken up with the appropriate ministers, because it might be appropriate, although these are matters to be decided locally. It is a matter of public money, and it might be that if ministers can do anything to help resolve the situation, then that would be appropriate.
David.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and Happy New Year to you and your staff. Mr. Speaker, I have some pleasing news. Knife attacks in Lewisham over the last year has seen a 23% reduction. And I wish to celebrate and to thank the council, the police, our Mayor of London and all of the local community organisations who have helped to achieve this, as well as bringing more peace to our streets. However, with this said, Mr Speaker will probably be able to draw to his mind that last year there were 2 fatal deaths due to knife crime in my constituency, and of course any knife crime, and of course a fatality, is awful news and that nobody wants to hear or to know about. But I am seeking a government statement on the progress of the Knife Crime Coalition announcement in September 2024 and the Knife Crime Action Plan promise in the Labour manifesto.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I join her in thanking everyone involved in this initiative? And there's a long way to go, but there is important progress which is being made. Tackling knife crime is a top priority for this government, and although there are still too many cases, knife crime overall has fallen for the first time in 4 years, but there's a great deal more to do. The Coalition to Tackle Knife Crime has helped to shape key policies, including the Ninja sword ban and online sales review, but I will draw to the attention of Home Office ministers the remarks of my honourable friend, but I also have to say that we're also bringing forward further measures in the Crime and Policing Bill to strengthen legislation on knives.
Tom Gordon.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'd like to join the Leader of the House in recognising people who are awarded honours in the New Year's list, including those who live and work in Harrogate and Knaresborough, like Simon Roberts, Jane Bayliss, Professor Piers Forster, Miriam and Terence Wilcox and Master Ali, who was awarded an MBE for services to Taekwondo. I've had the pleasure of attending some of those Taekwondo sessions, but fortunately not participating, and it was a guest at one of the contests held locally last year. Martial arts and Taekwondo in particular play an important role in health, well-being, discipline and providing an opportunity for young people. Will the Leader of the House ask the relevant minister for further support and promotion of martial arts?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Local sport plays such an important part in our local communities, and of course the many volunteers who get involved, and they literally change people's lives for the better. So he's right in paying tribute to those involved and drawing to attention the fact that many of them quite rightly receive reward. I will draw to the attention his remarks to the relevant minister and see what further we can do, but the government is ambitious in this regard.
Paul Waugh.
Speaker, every year since 2021, the residents of Wrenbury Drive in Rochdale have turned their street into a spectacular display of Christmas lights, a real winter wonderland, which is all in aid of our local brilliant hospice, Spring Hill Hospice. This year, they've raised more than £6,000 as families of all backgrounds came to marvel at what is really Rochdale's own Rochdale Illuminations. Will he join me in congratulating Maria Briley and all other Rochdalians who make this such a fantastic event in our Christmas calendar?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I will, of course, join my honourable friend in thanking Maria Briley and everyone involved in making Rochdale's Christmas celebrations a success and raising a significant amount, a very welcome amount for charity, but also thank him for raising this matter. He's such a diligent and hard-working MP. At the forefront of his mind for every time is the interest of his constituents, and I thank him for that.
Jim Shannon.
Madam Deputy Speaker, can I thank the Leader of the House for the opportunity to ask an important question. This week I'd just like to turn our attention to Nicaragua. The country has witnessed a recent severe escalation of human rights violation and religious persecution. The Nicaraguan government has banned Bibles, the very Bible that we have in this chamber we start our business with each and every day, at border crossings as part of a broader crackdown on the Catholic Church that has been ongoing since 2019. So will the Leader of the House ask the Foreign Secretary what steps the government will take to raise these violations with the Nicaraguan authorities and to ensure that freedom of religion or belief is upheld. Thank you so much.
Leader.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. First of all, I want to wish the honourable gentleman a Happy New Year and thank him for raising such an important question as he always does. We do share his concern about the suppression of human rights in Nicaragua and elsewhere, including in relation to freedom of religion or belief. I will raise it with ministers as he asks, but he also may wish to raise it directly himself at Foreign Office orals on the 20th of January.
Mark Stewarts.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I recently met with the Morley Indian community who raised concerns with me about the proposed ILR changes. Now, many of these people are highly skilled, highly qualified, they work in key sectors, claim no benefits, but they're seriously worried that their families won't qualify for ILR under the new rules, despite they themselves meeting the new higher eligibility requirements. I want to recognise that this community has enriched life in Leeds South Western Morley and makes a significant contribution to the UK. So will the Leader of the House grant debate in government time on the urgent need to clarify the new ILR rules for those that work hard and make a significant contribution to our country?
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for this question and for highlighting the contribution of the Indian community in his constituency, but also across our country. The changes we're making, Madam Deputy Speaker, are about tightening the rules for future claimants, not a retrospective policy that would risk harming the families who have made their lives here and such an important contribution. My honourable friend may wish to raise his concerns in the Westminster Hall debate on indefinite leave to remain, which is taking place on the 2nd of February, and to ask ministers directly.
Sonia Kumar.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. In towns like Dudley, bus routes are lifeblood of the community. This is why I was disappointed when part of the 215 bus service serving Sledmere was going to be scrapped, and residents were rightfully upset. But I'm delighted that this decision has been overturned after lobbying the Transport for West Midlands, and I thank them for their change in direction. In the light of this, will my right honourable friend welcome the reinstatement and grant time for a debate on the importance of protecting bus routes where other forms of transport are not available?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I certainly will join her, but also congratulate her for lobbying for the bus service to be reinstated, which I understand from what she has said has happened. So we need to congratulate her and everyone else who campaigned on it as well. The government believes bus services are vital to local communities, and I would invite her to have an adjournment debate, or indeed a backbench business debate, about bus services, where colleagues will be able to join her in appreciating the importance of those services and hearing directly from ministers.
Tom Hayes.
Speaker, every other worst. My constituents face misery over Christmas with no customer service, in fact customer service which was only in the form of chatbots. I recently received a woeful reply after writing to Every's CEO. Now, there are many excellent couriers, including Rodrigo, Martin and Tony in Bournemouth, and I thank them, but they're being let down by Every. Does my honourable friend agree that when private parcel operators deliver appalling customer service without minimum standards, it's workers who suffer and it's customers who suffer too, left shouting into the void? Can he advise me on how I can secure meaningful redress for my constituents of Bournemouth East?
Leader.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thought for a moment that the honourable gentleman had been talking to my wife on the success or otherwise of Every. The delivery practices which were exposed in a recent Panorama programme are simply unacceptable. The government does expect all parcel operators to meet their service requirements, protect customers and support retailers at the busiest time of the year. And my honourable friend is absolutely right to shine a light on this, and I hope that colleagues will continue to do so until Every or any other operator improves their performance.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For years, solicitor Andrew Milne has been bullying, threatening and harassing leaseholders, including my Horwich constituents, into buying freeholds off him at massively inflated prices, sometimes as much as £25,000. Yet the Solicitors Regulation Authority has done nothing to stop his outrageous behaviour, which has caused immeasurable pain and suffering to my constituents. Homeowners in Bolton West shouldn't have to live in fear of being ripped off by crooked lawyers. So will the Leader of the House set aside government time for a debate on the lack of action from the Solicitors Regulation Authority in cracking down on lawyers like Milne, who continue to act with impunity?
Leader.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. This does sound like a concerning case, and I'm sure the whole House will join me in condemning the behaviour which he describes. The Solicitors Regulation Authority is an independent regulator. However, the Minister for Courts and Legal Services is writing to them to seek an update and assurance about what action is being taken or is the intent to take, and I'll ensure that my honourable friend is updated on that.
Rachel Blake. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and a Happy New Year to you. At community meetings in Victoria, I hear from my constituents who see open drug dealing on the streets and experience aggressive harassment. But there is hope in the work that Westminster City Council is doing, investing in their staff so that they can work collaboratively with the police and other local community organisations to tackle this issue head on. Will he support me in my request for the Minister for Policing to join me on the streets to see some of the good work and make sure that this continues with additional investment in neighbourhood policing going forward so that we can keep Victoria safe?
Leader.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. As my honourable friend will know, we are recruiting 13,000 new police officers into neighbourhood policing roles to tackle issues such as the ones and concerns as the ones that she describes. I'll ensure that she gets a meeting with the relevant minister in the Home Office so she can make her case and give the invitation to join her herself.
Jess Atwell.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. In 2020, my constituents, Christine and Francis Saunders, experienced the worst loss any parent can endure. Their daughter, Juliet, died when she was only 25 years of age, after signs of bowel perforations were dismissed. Juliet's death was avoidable had she received timely treatment, and she would have had an 80% chance of survival. Juliet lived with the Cornelia de Lange syndrome, a condition that causes learning disabilities and physical health complications. Her tragic death is not isolated. Many with learning disabilities are routinely failed by healthcare services. They are more than 3 times as likely to die prematurely from treatable causes. Could the leader make time for the minister responsible to make an urgent statement on the steps the government is taking to ensure that the concerns of patients with learning disabilities are treated seriously so that no one else suffers in the way that Juliet did?
Leader.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. First of all, I want to extend my deepest sympathies to Christina and Francis, because every avoidable death is a tragedy. And I thank my honourable friend for raising this matter in the serious way in which he has. I will ensure that he gets a meeting with the relevant minister to make his case further and to hear from ministers what further action is planned to address these concerns.
I can see members reviewing their questions. Please keep them short. Patricia Ferguson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Will the Leader of the House join me in welcoming the announcement today by the Secretary of State for Scotland of £140 million of local growth funding for Scotland, including £16.9 million to the Glasgow City region? And does he agree with me that this, together with the record budget settlement to the Scottish Government, demonstrates that Scotland really is at the heart of this Labour Government?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I certainly join my honourable friend in welcoming this investment. As she rightly points out, we provided the biggest funding settlement for the Scottish Government since devolution began, proving that Scotland truly is at the heart of this Labour Government. Our mission is to improve living standards for working people, and the Local Growth Fund is one way we're achieving this for every part of the United Kingdom.
Aggie Shanker.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Every rip-off private operator parking fine hurts drivers and hurts our city centres, and Derby is no exception. In October last year, Jumping Fun Play Centre closed their doors for good because families couldn't trust they'd be treated fairly at the Copeland Street car park. I welcome the government has recently consulted on fairer parking rules, but will my right honourable friend encourage a timely consultation response so we can put an end to this rip-off private car operator industry?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. As my honourable friend mentions, we are cracking down on unjust private parking charges through a new, stronger private parking code of practice, and I'll ensure that my honourable friend receives an update on the timing of the response.
Maya.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. On Monday, a terrible fire took the life of an elderly resident in Gisborough in my constituency, and my thoughts are with her family and loved ones. This is one of 3 serious fires in my constituency in recent weeks, and Cleveland firefighters have raised with me concerns about the funding formula for fire brigades. They believe that deprivation, such as exists in our region, ought to be taken into account, as is happening in funding formulas for local government and for the NHS. Could the government look at this to make sure that our brave firefighters firefighters are given the resources they need to tackle blazes like this one?
Leader.
Madam Deputy Speaker, first of all, I want to extend my deepest sympathies for everyone involved in these horrific events and thank the emergency services for their response. Following the Fair Funding Review consultation, our reforms on the way forward is to ensure that funding is allocated to local authorities and fire and rescue authorities and that will take into account the different needs of communities across the country. He may wish to attend MHCLG orals on the 12th of January to ask ministers further about this vital work.
David Williams.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. People living in Golden Hill and Sandford have an absolutely brilliant residents association led by the remarkable Tom Simpson. And recently I visited a Tesco Express store alongside them to hear from staff who were concerned about having to deal with regular shoplifting. Does the Leader of the House agree with me that whilst we've taken big steps forward as a government, we've got lots more to do and we must continue to do all we can to protect and support our retail workers?
Leader.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I absolutely agree with my honourable friend, which is why we're taking the steps that we are taking, but also looking what further measures we can do. Through the Crime and Policing Bill, we will end the effective immunity granted to shoplifting of goods under £200. We're also supporting a specialist analysis team cracking down on organised gangs that target retailers.
Catherine Atkinson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I recently visited Derby Athletics Club and met with volunteers including Ernie, who is 100 years old and has been volunteering for over 70 years. I know that Ernie doesn't like a fuss, but will the Leader of the House join me in thanking Ernie for his incredible commitment? And will he consider how we might best celebrate the work of volunteers in grassroots sport across the country?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend is doing just that by raising these matters, as they sometimes are, at business questions and highlighting the fantastic contribution made by people like Ernie. 70 years of volunteering is very impressive indeed. Grassroots sports are at the very heart of our local communities, which is why we're investing £400 million in grassroots sports facilities, but they depend upon the people to make them work. And those people not only are at the heart of our local communities, they change people's lives for the better. So I absolutely join with her in thanking Ernie and all the other volunteers.
Madam Deputy Speaker, for decades, remote coastal areas like Cornwall have seen education funding inexplicably lag well behind urban areas. Now, under this Labour government, the particular challenges and costs associated with delivering services in deprived remote coastal areas have begun to be recognised in some government funding models, but not all. Would the Leader help me secure a meeting with the Secretary of State for Education to discuss funding for Cornish schools?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I was pleased to meet with the honourable gentleman, my honourable friend, earlier this week, and he once again demonstrates that he's a champion for Cornwall, and I'm pleased to record that there is some success in the campaigning which has been done by our fantastic MPs in that part of the country, and I would be happy to facilitate the meeting that he requests.
Anna Galdard. Speaker, and Happy New Year to you and your office. This year provides an opportunity to secure our vital local and national infrastructure. So I ask the Leader of the House for government time to be given to discuss the impact on local residents and businesses of the Tamar Bridge and Torpoint Ferry tolls, including the recent proposal to increase the monthly admin fee for Tamar tag holders. This has resulted in an extraordinary meeting of those responsible for the crossings to be held next week, following opposition from myself and my fellow Labour MPs and other local residents.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I was pleased to meet with my honourable friend again earlier this week, and she did raise this matter with me and stress the importance of the Tamar crossings to the communities that she serves. The toll levels were set by the operator and the council, and it's for them to assess the impacts for local residents and business. But should she apply for a debate, a Westminster Hall debate on Tamar Bridge, I'm sure it would be well attended, and she could highlight her concerns.
Madam Deputy Speaker, the legendary Jock Stein once famously said that football without fans is nothing, and of course he was absolutely correct. So I'd like to invite the Leader of the House to join me in recognising the fantastic Alloa Athletic Football Memories Group led by John Glencross. The group regularly meet up and talk all things football, and the meetings support people living with dementia and some who are experiencing loneliness and social isolation. It's an example of great camaraderie, friendship and community spirit.
Leader.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I certainly will join my honourable friend in thanking the Alloa Athletic Memories Group for all the work that they do. I was just reflecting the other day on how that part of the world has produced so many, not just fantastic footballers, but go on to be fantastic managers too. So I'm sure they've got a lot to talk about.
John Pearce.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My constituents in Glossop and the surrounding areas are up in arms at the news that reform-run Derbyshire County Council are proposing to close their local tip. Reform don't seem to understand or care that this would force residents on an hour-long trip to the nearest tip in Buxton, making disposal of household waste almost impossible for many. This will increase the risk of fly tipping and litter across my constituency. Will the Leader of the House make time in government time to arrange a debate on the importance of having accessible recycling centres and maintaining vital local services?
Madam Deputy Speaker, I thank my honourable friend for bringing his concerns to the floor of the House, and he's absolutely right to do so. Fly tipping is a serious crime which blights communities, and the environment and local authorities are responsible for keeping the public land clear of litter and refuse. So it's hugely disappointing to hear of what is happening in that part of the country. And I join my honourable friend in urging the Reform-led Council to take their responsibilities seriously, use the powers that they have got, but most of all, listen to the residents they're meant to serve.
Sarah Coombs.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Guru Nanak Gurdwara in West Brom recently suffered a horrible incident of anti-Sikh hate. An unidentified vandal ran past and dumped a bag of meat on the doorstep. As many Sikhs are vegetarian, this is obviously a very horrible, offensive incident. Can the Leader of the House make time for a debate about how we reject this type of hate, how we protect our places of worship, and how we celebrate the contribution of Sikhs and all faith communities in our areas?
Madam Deputy Speaker, again, my honourable friend is absolutely right to raise these matters. I'm sorry to hear of the case, obviously, that she raises, but everyone should feel safe in their communities. It doesn't, irrespective of their race, religion or beliefs. This year, we're investing almost £71 million to strengthen security at places of worship and other community sites, and we brought forward new legislation through the Crime and Policing Bill to address protests outside places of worship.
Michelle Welsh.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and Happy New Year. The Loudon Flood Action Group, led by the formidable Peter Cross and groups in other villages in my constituency, including Epistone, are working hard to protect their community from flooding. At a meeting with ministers in Loudon, we heard concerns about liability when it comes to local flood groups taking action to protect homes. Reform-led Nottinghamshire County Council is currently standing in the way of essential flood prevention in Loudon due to perceived potential litigation. Could we have a debate on what support the government can give to these local flood groups so these people can protect their local communities? It seems utterly ridiculous that local government red tape is allowed to put homes at risk.
Leader.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend, if she raises her concerns in detail, I'll make sure that they are passed on to ministers, but I'm also happy to facilitate a further meeting with the relevant minister to follow up on any visit that might have taken place. And just let me re-emphasise what I've just said a moment ago, which is reform-led councils have a responsibility to their local residents, and it is their job as locally elected representatives to do their very best to address those concerns, not to get in the way.
Jacob Collier.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Before Christmas, I attended Burton Addiction Centre's inspirational celebration of recovery, and there we celebrated hundreds of people who are in recovery, people that have overcome huge battles with addiction to rebuild their lives. Will the Leader join me in congratulating all those that were there, the staff at the centre, and recognise the importance of residential rehab services?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I certainly will join my honourable friend in congratulating the work of the Burton Addiction Centre and indeed the vital work of addiction services across the country. This government is absolutely committed to ensuring that anyone with addiction problems can access the help and support that they need, and the work in local areas is of such importance going forward.
Blackpool experiences homelessness rates higher than the national average, with a record number of rough sleepers recorded last year, so I was delighted to secure over £3 million to tackle this. But with the current spell of extreme cold weather, conditions are especially dangerous for those sleeping rough in my constituency on the seacoast. I pay tribute to the council's outreach team, local charities including Helping Heart, Street Angels and Street Life for the work they do. Will the Leader of the House join me in thanking all those supporting our most vulnerable and will reassure my constituents that the government is committed to delivering long-term solutions so that Blackpool residents have a safe, secure and affordable place to live.
Leader.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend demonstrates once again not just that he's an effective constituency MP, but he recognises that there's much more work that needs to be done, and he is a real champion for the fine town of Blackpool. I'll certainly join him in thanking charities across the country who provide invaluable services supporting those experiencing homelessness. We are committed to ending homelessness, making sure that everyone has a safe place to live, and our homelessness strategy aims to halve the number of people sleeping rough long term by 2029.
Robertson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My constituent Lisa has a severe condition that affects her nerves. She can't stand, feed herself or use the bathroom unaided, has a tracheotomy to help her breathe, and can only leave her house for hospital appointments without the aid of a wheelchair. In 2024, she was referred to AJM, a company contracted by the NHS in Staffordshire to provide wheelchairs. It took almost a year and the intervention of my office to even get her an appointment to be measured for a wheelchair by AJM. She was then told that it would be at least a year more before she gets the wheelchair that she needs. Now, she has finally been given a wheelchair, but it is not the correct one, and there is some uncertainty about if she will ever actually get the care that she needs. Will the Leader of the House ask the Government to publish a written statement on how our new wheelchair quality framework will ensure providers like AGM are held to much higher standards than Lisa has received?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm sorry to hear of the case that my honourable friend raises. We understand how important it is that people can access wheelchairs to support them to live independently. As he points out, our wheelchair quality framework sets out quality standards relevant to all suppliers, regardless of care quality commission registration status, and I'll ensure that ministers have heard his concerns and update him on the progress that's been made.
Pinto-Dudzinski.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Mill Hill Broadway is Barnet's busiest station, but its steep flight of stairs mean that people with mobility issues struggle to use it. Sadly, its lack of accessibility has already had tragic consequences. Priscilla Trott died after falling at the station. Step-free access at Mill Hill Broadway is essential. The previous government promised to install lifts at the station, but failed to deliver time and time again. Under this government, progress is finally being made and detailed designs are being worked up, and I would urge the Department for Transport to give final approval once the design phase is complete. Will the Leader of the House make time available for a debate on the importance of making our transport network more accessible?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. This government is committed to improving the accessibility of Britain's railways, and we've confirmed £280 million for Access for All projects over the next 4 years. I'm pleased to hear that development is being made at Mill Hill Broadway, and I've been reassured that DfT will update my honourable friend and key stakeholders once the review has been completed.
Ben Goldsborough.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I've been working closely with local teacher and Labour's Wyndham Town Council, Lower Doheny, on the pressing issue of youth provision and well-being in our growing market town. Now, can we have a debate in government time on youth provision, including access to affordable leisure and youth clubs, to explore how best Labour government can ensure youth support keeps pace with expanding market towns?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend will know of the government's commitment to the youth strategy going forward, and will have heard his concerns. It's not about any particular area, it's about all areas where young people get the support and access that they need. I'll make sure that his concerns are drawn to the attention of the relevant minister.
Alex Ballinger.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I work today to pay tribute to Colin Brooks, the president of Heylings Town FC that passed away at the end of last year, doing what he loved most, watching his beloved Yelts. After playing as a professional footballer and serving as a police officer, Colin dedicated 25 years of his life to Heylings Town FC, where he led the club through the ups and downs all non-league clubs face. Colin was a champion, not just of football, but for Heylings and its surrounding communities. So will the Leader of the House join me in paying tribute to Colin Brooks and celebrate the impact of good people like him who keep our non-league clubs alive and contribute so much to our community?
Yeah. Speaker, absolutely, John, my honourable friend, in recognising the legacy of Colin Brooks and extend my sympathies to his family and friends. Grassroots sports are an important part of our local communities. I thank Mr Brooks for his contribution, not just to his local football club, but also to the wider local community, and for the very positive impact that he has had on people's lives in his local area.
Richard Baker.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Would the Leader of the House allocate time for a debate on tackling child poverty, not only in light of this Government's decision to lift the two-child cap, but also to recognise the vital work of the multi-bank charity, supporting hundreds of children in my constituency, where the first multi-bank was established by Gordon Brown and Bob Garmery, who most deservedly received an OBE in the New Year's Honours List for his contribution to this amazing initiative.
Leader.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. First of all, can I congratulate Bob Garmery for his well-deserved OBE, illustrating how vital the work my honourable friend refers to really is. Regarding his first point, there will be ample time to debate child poverty when the legislation to remove the two-child benefit cap is considered by this House, and at that time, Madam Speaker, we may see, not just in theory but in practice, the disgraceful coalition which has been formed between the official opposition and Reform Party to make sure that the help that children in poverty are to receive, if they had their way, they wouldn't get that.
Josh Newbury.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. After the chaos of their former leader being exposed as a fan of white supremacy and Doge still nowhere in sight, Reform UK on Staffordshire County Council are so desperate for savings that they're cutting £1 million from concessionary travel in their first budget. Would the Leader of the House agree with me that concessions can be a lifeline for vulnerable people who don't drive, and the fact that Reform look there to make their cuts says a lot about their values? And could we have a debate on the importance of concessionary travel?
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. I absolutely agree with my honourable friend that concessionary travel is invaluable for many people, particularly the most vulnerable. But what we're beginning to see across the country is what it means to have reform in office. This government understands how important that accessible transport is, and we are prioritising keeping costs down. Transport oral questions took place this morning, but I will make sure that his concerns are drawn to the attention of the Department for Transport.
Dan Puffy.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker, and a Happy New Year to you and the whole House. At a recent coffee morning I hosted in Southampton Itchen on the issue of public transport, some disabled passengers told me about the very specific barriers they're still facing when they choose to travel by rail. Woolston Station, there's only one step-free access to one of the platforms, so those with limited mobility have to make a round trip of 20 minutes in the other direction in order to then travel eastward. This, I'm sure the Leader of the House would agree, is ridiculous. So as we roll out Great British Railways, will the Leader of the House make time for a debate on how we can make all our stations accessible to all constituents and travellers, including those living with disabilities?
The Government is committed to improving the accessibility of British Railways, and we've confirmed £280 million for access for all projects over 4 years. There have been a number of recent debates, Madam Deputy Speaker, related to the accessibility of our railways, but I think it would be of great interest across the House for further debates, maybe through backbench business or through an adjournment debate.
Final question, Torquil Crichton.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm very grateful. Yesterday, with Heylings and Islands airports at the centre of international events, there was no Scottish news programming on STV, the ITV channel in Scotland, because journalists were on the picket line in Aberdeen and Glasgow. Their strike is centred on STV's plans to cut that cherished northern edition of news output, formerly Grampian News, cut 28 editorial jobs and merge them with Central Belt news services, which would dilute and diminish northern coverage. Does the Leader of the House agree with me that when facts are so precious, that it's important that we protect local journalism and value the distinct voice which it provides?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I do support my honourable friend in what he says about the importance of local journalism and the distinct voice which it provides. My understanding is that Ofcom have launched a consultation on the proposed changes, and I would encourage everyone with a view on that to respond to it.
That is the end of business questions. I'll allow the front bench a few moments to shuffle over and we get ready for our first statement.